my name's Madeleine, and I'm a student here at Brock University. When I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with strep throat. That's right, just strep throat. But I didn't know how something as simple as a strep throat infection could change the course of my life. As of this year, I discovered that the strep throat just led to the recognition of a rare disorder known as pandas. But unlike the cute and fuzzy animal, this PANDA stood for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychological Disorder associated with streptococcal infections. Basically, this disorder is characterized with the arrival of strep throat and a malfunction of your immune system, where instead of attacking the infection, your confused immune system actually attacks your brain, and it changes the chemistry. If the infection is treated right away and you don't have any genetic predisposition to mental illness at all, the damage can be reversed. But I was unfortunately beyond that point because nobody really even knew what pandas was. In 2009, there were only 217 cases of pandas worldwide, and I was suffering from it in 2007 at age 12, way before it was on many doctors' radars. It seemed almost instantly my childlike concerns of, I hope we play tag at recess, or I hope I get partnered with my best friend in class today, turned into concerns of what is wrong with me and will there ever be a day that things get better? Today I'd like to share pieces from my past that I have held dearly in the form of cards from my family that I've saved from the time of my struggles up until now. I went from being the top of my class with a ton of friends to having delusions and voices that had even begun to haunt my dreams. I turned into a girl that pointed and screamed at things that weren't there. I wouldn't respond to the words of my worried family because I was too preoccupied fighting battles with the voices that plagued me every second of every day. I would go to bed scared but exhausted by the energy required to be a buffer in my own mind. I was only 12 years old, but I had to grow up fast, especially since the doctors thought that I could have a brain tumor. My parents took me to the emergency room because it wasn't hard to see that I wasn't being my normal self. Because of how fast my delusions onset, it seemed as though a brain tumor would be the only thing that made sense. So at the age of 12, I was preparing for the worst. I remember walking in on my mom curled up in my dad's arms crying. And I remember kissing my siblings and telling them that I loved them, thinking that I wouldn't have the opportunity to show them for much longer. When the results from the CAT scans and MRIs came through, it was clear that I didn't have a brain tumor. Of course we were relieved, but my only thought was that I wasn't dying, I was just crazy. I endured more tests. I had electrodes placed on my head and even a spinal tap. My aunt said, whatever it takes to make you well again, we will do. We are here for you, Maddie, and we love you very much. In the end, it was the blood work that confirmed that I had a strep throat infection and that was likely the cause of my problems. The infection was taken care of, but my brain was forever changed, and so was my life. While I was at school, I kept a book locked in the teacher's desk. The doctor gave it to me to write my hallucinations in so that later he could examine them and try to see the nature of what was going on. As kids are, my peers started to get curious. At lunchtime, a boy in my class opened the teacher's desk when she left the room. He grabbed the book and he read all of my horrors to the entire class. Needless to say, I lost all my friends. My best friend told me that my problems were too much for her, and I became everybody's favorite target to bully. Not only was I dealing with my own struggles, but now everybody was calling me names like retard, hip checking me into lockers. A guy in my class even came by my house to shout out retard at my window at midnight. As if middle school didn't already suck. I went to 20 different doctors, all of whom were completely lost as to what my diagnosis could be. One of my doctors turned to my mother and simply said that I'm out of ideas and good luck to you. With the different doctors came different medications. Some medication made me sleep for 20 hours of the day. Some medications made me gain 30 pounds. Some made me unable to pee for 2 days to the point where I was in the hospital bleeding. Nothing seemed to work, and I was tired. I was beginning to think that maybe I just had an illness that nobody had heard of yet, that nobody had thought of the cure for because it didn't exist until I had it. All the things my bullies would say to me, the voices in my head would say 50 times as much and at least 50 times more cruel. I remember crying and begging my mom, make it go away, make it stop. And she cried with me saying, I'm trying, baby, I'm trying. My dad was scared to leave me alone for a moment because even though he couldn't protect me from what was going on in my own mind, he wanted to. Around the 20th doctor, I was taken out of school because I had already become the girl who had panic attacks in class from things that nobody could understand. I didn't know if I would graduate with the kids that I had been going to school with my entire life. A couple different prescriptions were tried, and I began to feel better. The voices got quieter, my mind seemed more peaceful, my anxiety dulled. A point came where I had gone a full day without voices or hallucinations, and I was too terrified to say it out loud for fear of jinxing it. Then there was a week without, then a month, then a year, and now 7 years. While going back to school wasn't easy, it was something I had to do. My Nana said, "Dear Maddie, we are so proud of you. After a difficult year, you have made such strides." I still had to face the kids that tortured me. They weren't kind when I returned, and even when I went to high school, I was still known as that crazy girl. One of the downfalls of living in such a small town, I suppose. When I was in grade 12, I joined an anti-bullying club at my high school, and when asked what we should do an assembly on, I suggested mental health. I figured I didn't really have anything else to lose. I already had a reputation, and it was my last year with these kids. I was going to tell everybody what I went through. All the kids in my high school from each and every grade. If they teased me for it, what else was new? But if one person benefited from hearing my story, it would be worth it. As I said my speech, I was shaking, but my voice didn't quiver. I had never heard a room so silent except for the sniffles coming from my sister, mom, dad, and grandparents. My sister said to me, "Maddie, you're so brave. You did so well, and I'm so proud of you." The rest of my time at high school was surprisingly peaceful. Some of the kids who bullied me even apologized to me, saying that they had no idea what I was going through at the time. But how could they? You never know the pain that somebody could be suffering just by looking at their face. At my high school graduation, my teacher brought me to the stage to thank me for raising awareness for bullying and mental health. And she gave me flowers. My mom said, "Dad and I are so proud of you. You have been through some trying times, but you always come out on top." I remember thinking that everything that I had gone through, everything that I had experienced was suddenly worthwhile because I turned a negative situation into an opportunity to help others that could be going through the same thing. Today I'm healthy and today I'm happy. I haven't forgotten what I've gone through with mental health, but I don't want to because it has made me more empathetic towards those around me and has given me the strength to go through things that may have seemed hard if I hadn't gone through mental illness, but only seemed like a speed bump because I have. Through it all has been my family, and I kept all the cards I received from them in an envelope from the time I was 12 until now. Their words still comfort me on days that I need them. My granddad said, "Maddie, you know we love you, and all your sisters and your brothers and cousins, no matter what you do or don't do. For you, we have additional respect for the way that you have coped with the problems that no one deserves. I remember lying with you on our couch when you were at low points. Nothing makes us happier than to see you fulfilling your dreams and aspirations." Even now, telling this story is still hard for me to do. It's hard to relive the memories that were some of the most traumatic ones of my life. All I know is that you should never underestimate the voice of one person. Stigma around mental illness is a real thing, and the only way we can break it is by speaking out and making people understand that it's more prevalent than it ever seemed to be before. I encourage everybody to do the same and be comfortable with who they are. And hopefully together, we can make others suffering not feel so alone.